Okay, so today we're going to do something a little different. We're putting on our detective hats to solve one of the biggest mysteries in the academic world: how to find a truly original research idea. We're going to uncover the clues that lead to what's called a research gap. You know that feeling, right? You're sitting there staring at a blank page, and it just feels like every single important question has already been answered. If that's you, trust me, you are not alone. It's a super common feeling. But what if I told you that the landscape is just full of undiscovered territory? The secret is all about changing your perspective. You have to stop thinking like a student who's just looking for a topic. Instead, start thinking like a detective who's looking for a missing piece of the puzzle. See, your job isn't to invent something out of thin air. It's to investigate what's already there and find out what's missing. So, what exactly is this missing clue we're all hunting for? Well, in the research world, we call it a research gap. And this idea, it's the cornerstone of your entire investigation. So here's the official definition. A research gap is basically a hole in the story. It's that one missing piece of evidence that's stopping the experts, the reviewers, from closing the case and saying, "Yep, we've figured this out." To put it another way, you've found a gap when the research that's out there is either not enough, or it's all pointing in different directions, or maybe it just isn't there at all. Any one of those is a direct lead to your next big idea. But why is this so important? I mean, why does finding this missing clue matter so much? Well, the stakes of this particular case are frankly incredibly high for you and for your entire field. Here's the most crucial point. Your whole contribution really hinges on addressing one of these gaps. It's what separates just another report from a truly groundbreaking study. It's how you add real value, how you push the whole conversation forward, and really, how you make your mark. Now, just like clues at a crime scene, research gaps come in all different shapes and sizes. Knowing what to look for is half the battle. So let's open up our detective's guide. Let's break down the first set of clues you might find. An evidence gap is the most obvious one. The data you need just flat out doesn't exist. A knowledge gap is a bit more subtle. We might have the data, but we don't have a good theory to explain why it's happening. Then there's the practical knowledge gap, which is a huge one. This is where a theory is proven to work, but nobody's actually using it in the real world. A population gap means the research has totally overlooked an entire group of people. And finally, a methodological gap means the tools used in past investigations were, flawed or just outdated. And believe it or not, there are more. A theoretical gap happens when you have a bunch of competing theories, but nobody's connected the dots. A geographical gap is when all the research is stuck in just one part of the world. An empirical gap is when nobody's bothered to study how two really important things might be connected. A conceptual gap means a key idea is still kind of fuzzy and poorly defined. And finally, a temporal gap means we only have a single snapshot in time with no idea what happens long term. All right, so now you know what the clues look like. The big question is, how do you actually find them? Well, it's time to open up your investigative toolkit. These are your main methods of investigation. We're going to touch on each one of these, from classic detective work, like, hitting the books, to using the absolute latest forensic technology. First up, the classic, a systematic literature review. This is your evidence-gathering phase. You're heading straight to the archives, databases like PubMed or Google Scholar, and you're pulling all the existing case files, using really specific keywords. Your goal here is to spot the patterns, find the contradictions, and zero in on those unanswered questions. Okay, here is an absolutely incredible shortcut, a real pro tip for any investigator out there. The limitations section of pretty much any published paper is where the researchers themselves openly admit what their study didn't cover. They are literally drawing you a treasure map and marking a giant X on the exact spot where a research gap lies. And hey, don't forget about the power of human intelligence. Go talk to your informants, your professors, your advisors, your colleagues. Going to a conference is like walking into a briefing room where all the top detectives are discussing their most difficult, unsolved cases. These conversations can give you leads you would never, ever find in a database. And of course, today we have technology on our side. Tools like Litmaps or Research Rabbit can actually create these amazing visual maps of an entire field of study. They analyze who is citing whom and can instantly show you the busy, well-lit streets of research and, more importantly, the dark, unexplored alleyways where your next huge discovery might be waiting. So you found a promising clue. Your investigation is officially underway. But finding the gap is only half the job. Now you have to frame your case. You've got to present your findings clearly and, most importantly, convincingly. This right here is the key transformation you need to make. A vague interest, like VR for pain, well, that's not really a research topic. But look at the difference when you frame it as a specific, practical knowledge gap. We know VR therapy works for pain, but it's not being used in hospitals. Suddenly, that's a compelling, solvable case. So, how do you actually say it? You want to use precise language. These templates right here are your guide to phrasing your gap with the authority of a seasoned detective. You're not just suggesting an idea, you're presenting a clear, evidence-based case for a brand new investigation. So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Finding a gap, a hole, something that's missing, that's not a dead end. It's not a problem at all. It's the entire point. It is an open door, an invitation to be the one who finally cracks the case. So now you have the mindset and you have the tools of an investigator. The only question left is the one you see on the screen. What unanswered question will you investigate? Go find your clue.